3, 2, 1, fire.
Gonna be honest, wasn't sure I would actually get the show on the air today. I went to schedule everything and it wouldn't let me because I was too close to 10 o'clock. I was scheduling it at 9:52 and they said, nope, you got to give a 10-minute buffer. So I'm like, who wants to start a show at 10:05? That's just weird. Anyway, the show has begun. This is your show. Good morning, Julie. That's the whole purpose. For the last couple of days, I have been talking to myself. That's not the point. I want to open up the phone lines and the video to you to be able to talk about, well, whatever's on your mind. Maybe you want to bitch about something. Maybe you want to, Woodenhead thought he missed it this morning. No, I'm just trying to find the right time to do this. We're going to get into that in just a few. Thanks for watching on YouTube, by the way. But yeah, this is your opportunity to maybe, praise somebody, compliment someone who's done something awesome. Maybe you got a great event coming up for the weekend, a fundraiser or something you want to tell people about. Well, this is your opportunity to do that. I get tons of emails from folks saying, hey, can you talk about this? Can you promote that? Blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, I can, but it's even better when you do it. And good news for my sister Linda. She's saying no static this morning. She suggested that I needed to wear more tinfoil. I told her that the problem was I'd been wearing saran wrap. Maybe that's what I need to do in order to get the numbers up. Wear saran wrap. I'm not sure that the powers that be would allow that to happen. I'm all for it. I am all for it. I'm not sure how the people on Twitch feel about that. Although they certainly have worse channels on Twitch. Facebook, on the other hand, yeah, no. Anyway, listen, 613-604-6464. What do you got going on that you would love to talk about? Woodenhead suggests I try latex instead, like I haven't done that already. Gosh. Renee would love to call in, but she's short-staffed in the office again. You know what? That unto itself, Renee, is always a great conversation. What is going on? Why are so many places short-staffed? Everywhere you look, it's help wanted, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. And yet everywhere you look, people seem to have time to be doing things like hitting Costco in the middle of the day, hitting the golf course. You drive by, what's the water park out near Embrun? You drive past there, it's still packed. Like, is anybody actually working? And if they're not, how are they making money if they're not taking these jobs that are there? Like, McDonald's at Walmart the other day I was in, they close at 4. You ever think you'd see the day where a McDonald's closes at 4? I know. It's crazy. So what's everybody doing for work these days? I don't understand. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here, working my ass off trying to find the right formula. Can we just talk about that for a moment? And I don't want to get into too much depression talk, etc. But I am, look, full disclosure, maybe you're new around here. I'm someone who lives with severe anxiety. I overthink everything, and it's always me. It's my fault. I've done this. And you know what? Maybe it is in some cases. I don't know. Add to that, I also deal with depression. And yeah, when my mind wanders, it's always to a worst case scenario. So where am I with this thing? And I look at other radio stations and, the content that they're putting out there, and people just, my overall sense is people are just not reacting like they used to posts from places like radio stations and TV shows and stuff. People just seem very disengaged all of a sudden. So when I look at my own situation, I'm going, well, I don't feel like I'm connecting anymore. I'm not getting that response anymore. Something's really, really wrong here. It's not though, because I'm still getting higher engagements than the average radio station. But it's just, I'm trying to find, what I'm trying to do, I guess, is find the right place with the right thing that is actually of use to you when you're working, or in the case of Renee's office, except for Renee, of course, when you're not working. I know you've got options like, Amazon Music and iTunes and Spotify, and you've got podcasts, etc. But what's the ideal thing for you? When traditionally people go to the office, they put the radio on in the background. And that's kind of how I launched BTR. It's kind of, it's the new version, I guess, of what I was doing on radio, playing music. But I just found that people just seem to have lost interest in that. And I also realized that we're not having enough conversations in this world. And maybe a lot of that thinking is born of, having taken on the Lowell Green show and being around that and seeing the impact that conversations can have on the world. That excites me. So I'm still trying to figure out, what is it? What is that perfect thing? And look, I think maybe talk is a fantastic avenue that I need to be on. Maybe not at this time of day. Maybe not. But the music thing doesn't seem to connect either. So I don't know. I put stuff out there and it gets like reaction. So you can't help but think, it's me, it's me, it's me. Oh, it's my ideas. People, I also, listen, when I'm being realistic, I think it's the world we're living in right now. We're all still, despite the fact, I was reading this morning, the World Health Organization saying it looks like this could be the end of COVID. We're seeing fewer and fewer deaths. People seem to be, if they get COVID, they're able to overcome it. It's nice to hear that kind of language being used. But I still think, by and large, for the last couple of years, we're so shell-shocked that, we're not ready yet. We're not ready to go to concerts. And, oh, that's interesting. Why is my phone ringing? I have the thingy-do plugged into the phone. There we go. Good morning. This would be
Julie.
Caller 9, Julie. Yay! Julie, what are your thoughts? You know me, as well as anybody can know me, I guess. Banging my head against the wall constantly. You know me, shooting myself in the foot. I'm my own worst enemy. Am I beating myself up too much here?
I think you are.
All right. Well, that was short and sweet. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
I have a theory, though, on the whole work thing, and
Okay.
I might be crazy, but I have a theory.
You are
Hear me out.
crazy, by the way. We know this. This is a fact, but we accept it and we appreciate it and we applaud it. So,
we have my sister in the Twitch chat, so
hey,
so
right on. Hello, sister in the Twitch chat. Renee is your sister?
Uh-huh.
Aw, no wonder I like her.
She just called me crazy too. So, I have a theory though on the whole why we can't find people to work, and I think I said this before. So back in the 90s, I'm pretty sure 80s, 90s, I remember them saying we're going to have a crisis where we're not going to have enough people to work. We're going to have hospital crisis. We're going to have this, that. And I don't remember if it was Lowell Green, or because my parents used to listen to Lowell Green and, CFRA. I don't know if it was a politician. They were like, we're going to have a crisis. We're going to have a crisis. There's not going to be enough people working the trades. We're not going to have enough people in the hospitals. You wait and see. We have to do something now. And I don't know personally a single person not working. My kids are working. Their friends are working. They're working part-time jobs. They're working 2 jobs. I'm working. My husband's working. Our friends are working. Everyone I talk to is working. I think what's happened is that the baby boomers are retiring or aged out, and they've gotten out of the trades, and the trades are dying. And we don't have enough population to fill these jobs. And my son said it best. He says, when I was in school, Mom, they didn't promote the trades. They didn't promote these jobs that are dying out. So no one's going into them. So I don't think there's enough people to work these jobs anymore. So then COVID hit, everyone went into isolation, and now people are just trying to survive. So they're just working the best job that they can find. So like people like my sister who are trying to find anyone to work, won't even show up for the job, won't even stay all day for the job.
Right.
It's because they walked across the street and they got a better one that's better paying. And that's what's happening. So
it's a supply and demand issue. There's a much larger supply of jobs than there is demand. So if I don't like your offer, and I have a better one tomorrow, I don't even need to acknowledge, right? I can just move on. Mike Rowe is an interesting guy to follow. I'm not sure if you follow Mike Rowe. He had a show on Discovery Channel called Dirty Jobs, where he would actually like get down in the sewer and work with the sewer workers. Just, these are some of the dirtiest, filthiest, nastiest jobs, but they're important jobs that need to be done. And who's doing them? And that grew into him starting a foundation. Now, this is in the States, but the Mike Rowe Foundation, the Mike Rowe Works Foundation, where he recognizes exactly what you just articulated, that far too many people are not even looking at the trades, plumbers, electricians, sewer workers, etc. These are jobs that we need to have people doing. This is the everyday thing. And it took me right back, and why I love following him is it took me right back to my days in high school. And I graduated high school in 1987. I had a marketing teacher named Mr. Toller. Mr. Toller drove me batshit crazy. He and I would just butt heads constantly on stuff. I loved his class. But I thought the man hated me. I really thought the man hated me. And years later, I get a phone call when I'm on the air at Cool FM. Would I come in and talk to his class? And I now I'm sitting down having lunch with my teacher, Mr. Toller, and I thought you hated me. He said, no. He says, but I knew how to push your buttons and get the best out of you. And, the more we talked, the more I realized that's exactly what he was doing. And unbeknownst to me, when he would do parent-teacher interviews, he would use me and a few other students as well as an example of, here's this guy named John. He is hell-bent on being in radio broadcasting. All around him are students in the high school who are being told, no, you have to go to university. You have to be a doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You got to get that 4-year degree. That's the only way you'll be successful. And he kept saying, no, people like John are going to be successful because he's looking where the jobs actually are. He's going where the jobs actually are. And he used this constantly, apparently, as an example. And so when I became a success and I was, every kid in his class was listening to this milkman guy on the radio, he's like, yeah, he was in my class years ago. He would use me as an example again and again and again. You're exactly right. People are not looking at skilled trades. What do you think an electrician makes? What do you think a plumber makes? That's good
they make
money.
A lot of money. That's really good money, but that's the problem. So now you got these children that are going to university because that's what they're being told in school. You're not going to make it in this world if you don't have a university degree. That's not true.
You can go, exactly. It's not true.
Because I went to community college and I'm doing just fine, and I'm and I'm a federal government employee. I think another hinder in this whole thing is the federal government isn't hiring, because those baby boomers are retiring out, and there's a big influx of people leaving the federal government. So the federal government is hiring. So people are trying to jump on that bandwagon too. So I think
I'm thinking about it, Julie. I'm thinking about it just because, add to that my frustrations, the cost of my prescriptions, and I don't know. I couldn't see myself doing it. If I'm being honest, could I do the job? There's probably a job for me in the government that I could do. Yes, I just don't know that I have the same passion for it, and I do everything based on passion.
So I really think it's supply and demand, because you go ask your neighbors, you go ask your friends, you might see a lot of people, but you go ask a lot of people. And I've asked my kids' friends, are you working? You working? And everybody I know is working. So the only people I know that are not working, even my stepdad's working. So, and he's 71. So who's not working? Do you know what I mean? Even if it's
Well,
not
good point.
part-time.
Good point. Yeah, because I mean, I look, as you say that, you've said it twice now. I start racking my brain, going, who do I know who's just sitting around doing nothing? And off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody who's just sitting around and willingly doing nothing. Well, maybe a couple of folks, but
There might be a couple, but like if you're in your circle of people, and I'm thinking who in my circle of people are not doing a job, who is not getting up every morning and not doing a job and going to work. I can't think of anyone in my circle of friends, family that are not retired, and even people who are retired have gone back to work. So
you know
I
what?
just,
That's interesting to hear you say that. So yeah, that's that. God, you are so observant. When I finally, after 3 months of yelling and screaming and begging for my insurance company to call me, and all I would get is, "Well, this was an unusual storm, this derecho." Which, by the way, I don't know who to believe anymore, because on CFR, I believe it was CFRA and CTV yesterday said the cleanup bill for that storm is $20 million, and then CBC has the same story and they say that it's $50 million. So a bit of a discrepancy there, and I have a hard time chalking that up to just a typo. But so by the time I finally got around to getting someone on the phone from my insurance company, she said, "Look, we are overwhelmed. We are short-staffed. We cannot keep up with the claims right now." And she said she had been retired for a good 6 years and has come back 3 days a week, just to give the benefit of her experience, etc., and help get some of these claims cleared out. So, when you start talking to and getting a feel for it, you sort of go, wow, okay, this is crazy. Anyway, once you got her on the phone, resolved, fantastic. But maybe you're sort of addressing both things that I've got on the table right now. Who's why are so many businesses looking to hire? Where are the people willing to work? And why am I feeling kind of lost in all of this right now? I think what you're articulating is we're in the middle of a massive shift. Everything seems to be shifting around us.
that's it. So, if I can jump a job, if I could just say, hey, I don't like my job anymore, I'm going to go next door because, they're going to give me $2 more over there. And that's what people are quiet quitting. I mean, there's this thing called quiet quitting going on where people are just going, they're just doing their random job. Quiet quitting is, I'm just going to do what I'm told to do. Or they're just kind of not showing up to work. They're saying, you got people going, they'll go for their break and then they'll not come back. And there are stories of this in Ottawa where, people have signed up to show up to work. They start training or whatever. They go on break and then they they don't go back because they've gotten a call because Joe Smith has offered them a better job across the street.
Wow. See, I'm not out there. I'm not seeing that. So interesting, Julie. Thank you very much, as always, for your perspective. I'm amazed that, once again, of all the people who has time to actually call in to caller number 9, it's the person who is notorious for being in our Twitch chat room saying, I have another meeting I got to go to. Yep, another meeting. And we bust your chops on that a lot, too, because nobody has more meetings than Julie. It's meetings all the time.
Meetings and training and everything else. Like I'm technically working as I'm talking to you, so I'm double tasking here. But yeah, no. So you kind of look at that perspective, and I really think that we were screaming about this. I know we were back in the 80s and 90s saying we're going to have a crisis, and we are in that crisis. Look at our hospitals. Look at our retail. Just look at our situation that we're in right now.
Well, the hospitals yesterday wasn't the news story yesterday? Like just the local hospitals, like we need to hire 3,000 hospital workers yesterday. That scares the hell out of you.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, you've already told us about your experiences in the healthcare system. With all the stuff that you're going through, plus your mom, etc. It's scary times.
Yep.
Scary times.
It's a very scary situation of, do I go sit in the hospital for 12 to 24 hours to wait for service, or do I just wait it out and try to call the family doctor or the specialist? And
can we not figure out a system with our hospitals so that, okay, so you need looking at, but it's not a life or death emergency. Like when I go to a restaurant now, like if they're full and they can't seat me, they give me like a little coaster thing to hold on to, and it will like beep and buzz and shake me and quake me and wake me, when my table's ready. Can we not create some sort of system in the hospital where it's like, okay, Julie, we're going to text you, we're ready for you now, come on back. At least you're out of the hospital and you're home, but you've at least seen somebody in triage and they've assessed you.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a perfect system, but we're not there yet. I think just there's just such an overwhelm in just every industry. You got an overwhelming of trades where you've got people in their 70s working in trades because there's no one coming in. So you need your stove fixed. You got a 7-year-old man coming to fix it because you don't have any young people coming in. You got the 7-year-old plumber coming,
right,
to come in. You've got nurses coming back because there's no nurses coming in. You've got doctors in their 70s not closing their practices because they don't want to do that to their patients.
And you've got others who are just saying, you know what, enough is enough. I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore. And they're walking away from their practice. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we're in the middle of a big shift. Julie, this is why I want to do this show. Because, you hit the nail on the head, I think. And this is, for anybody who's kind of like me right now, sort of looking around going, everything seems different. No matter what I do, no matter what I try, everything just seems to be falling flat. And I think you're exactly right. We're in the middle of a massive shift. And
that's why you can't be hard on yourself, because I think people see this and you're trying to do something great. And I think you need to keep going on what you're trying to do. But you have to realize the world around you is in chaos. But you're one person and you're trying to do one thing.
But damn it, Julie! But damn it, so you know what it is? I know, but I know that I'm good at this, and I saw that initial success. I launched this thing, and I mean, I would have 5,000 people tuned in at any given time, and it was big, and it was exciting, and it was new, and then. Yeah, I know people, they move on to other things and their world changes. And I mean, I can only yell and scream about BTR and how great we are on social media, for so long before people are like, yeah, we know you're fantastic, whatever, go blow it out your ear. It's accepting that shift, and it's just trying to find that right thing. So what is your sense? I mean, I think the talk show element or the talk component is important. Is this the time of day for me to be doing this? Or for you and what you do in your day, would you prefer I went back to doing a music type program?
Oh, I don't know. It's really hard. I know that the talk is really important because I used to like it when, you used to have people on and talk, but I think maybe a mixture of both.
Okay.
Is a good combination. Having that little, banter, back and forth with people, and then going into the music where we had fun, the laugh tag or, the boogie break maybe for 2 songs or whatever. That was fantastic too. So maybe a little mixing it up.
I honestly felt that people were, and Chrissy said earlier, she says, I miss the laugh tag. But when I look at it, objectively, it's like, well, it's not getting reaction. It's the same 4, 5 people all the time. And in my world, that's a panic situation. Like I got to see growth in order to move it forward. And where I'm seeing growth on BTR now, it's in the talk side of things.
For sure. But you also have the people who are listening on the app and whatnot. They're listening during the day, who are working like I do. And that music is playing. And whether there's somebody talking or whether there's somebody, whether we're jamming out to the tunes, like I jam out to those tunes while I work an 8-hour, 9-hour day. And that chat feature is really nice, and someone says, hey, how's it going? And we have international friends that pop in. And
isn't that great? I love that.
The variety is nice. It's just the variety is nice. The talk is nice. The music's nice. So that's the thing about BTR is you have such a great variety. And, sometimes, you're offering so much on the platform and it's fantastic. But sometimes going back to basics is just nice too. We like that. People
Guilty as
like that.
charged. Guilty as charged. I do tend to want to throw a lot of things at it. I mean, I look at my show in Sarasota right now, and I've gone from, just playing the music and talking about the music and the occasional, local thing going on in Sarasota to, in my first hour now, I do Today in the 80s, where I run down, today in 80s music and pop culture history, etc. Then moments later, it's the boogie break at the top of the hour, followed by back-to-back movie songs, followed by the John joke of the day, followed by it's all of these elements that I've added into this thing, which seems to simplify how efficiently I can put together the show, but is certainly adding a lot more layers to my work day. The prep side of things is certainly busier and busier. Okay, interesting. And I think, as I hear you say that, because, I do like the idea of balance. The challenge for me there is, here we go again, right? To bring this full circle, I need a co-host. In order to really, really take this to the next level, what I need is a co-host, someone who can come on and do that music thing with me. We can get into conversations about things, on the day the Queen passed away. We can have conversations about our feelings about that, and we can drop the music for a little bit, kind of like what I had with that morning brouhaha, which I'm incredibly proud of, because the cast that was on there, they've all moved on to, other jobs. And a lot of their success is because of the time that they were on here. But to find a co-host here, I need to be able to pay somebody. How do I pay somebody when I'm not making money at this? 6 years not making money at this. And I get it. So this is the challenge for me, I think, is I need to find someone who's got that same vision for what this can be as I have, and they want to be part of that and give up an hour or two of their day. That's a huge ask, though. It's a really huge ask.
But it is a huge ask. But again, maybe reaching out to these schools and the programs to see if there's a student that wants 1 or 2 hours of that airtime.
And there are, and I need to get back to a number of students who have applied for internships here. I'm overwhelmed with other things that I'm doing, and I just my day comes to an end, and it's like, I didn't get a chance to get back to them again, which is another thing that keeps me awake at night and drives me batshit crazy about myself. I'm chasing my own tail constantly. But even bringing on an internship student, it's a limited time thing. It's 4 or 5 weeks. I need something that's consistent. So I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I need to revisit that and get back to
reach out for volunteers, maybe. Well, that's what you need. Reach out for volunteers, just in an intern, and until to give yourself a break. And I bet you, if you said, "Hey, I need a few volunteers to," just to give myself a breather. And
here's an interesting comment. So Slacker Dan says, "I've always wanted to be a radio talk show co-host, but I'm too old now." That's bullshit. How is anybody too old to do this? No, that's nonsense.
Like you're never too old to dance.
I'm 53 years old, and I'm evolving my career now. Most people at 53 they're out. They're out of the business. They're done. They've moved on. I'm excited for what the future holds, and I'm leading the charge on this thing.
Exactly.
So, and the talk component to it is, this is all new to me. Look, think what you want about Lowell Green, and that's fine. Look, I know a lot of people are not his biggest fan, etc. But I think we can all agree that when it comes to talk show hosts, Lowell Green is right up there with the best who have ever done it. Love him or hate him, he's one of the best who's ever done it. And I've said this publicly before. I, in a million years, never imagined that I would be doing a show with Lowell Green, maybe producing it, but actually speaking and weighing in on with my opinions and stuff. That's just not anything that was ever part of my DNA before. And to have Lowell say, "I value your opinion. This is our show now." That's crazy to me. And I'm sure Lowell Green never imagined he'd be slumming it with a schlep like me, by the way. So, but, as I get older and these new opportunities come my way, I go all in. You know me. I'm always all in. I probably invest a little too much. But I am absolutely fascinated by the change that comes from the conversations on shows like Lowell's Show, on shows like the Nick and Joe Show. I think these are vitally important. And again, this morning I saw somebody post on social media, oh, Pierre Polyev is the devil incarnate and he hates gay people, and I'm very concerned about the LGBTQ+2 community. And I'm at least, immersed enough in this now that I'm going, well, wait a minute, and look, I don't even know what my politics are. I think I'm a little of all of the above. I'm a little green. I'm quite liberal in my thinking. I think that's well established. I'm conservative when it comes to how I want my government to spend money. I'm an ally with the LGBTQ+2 community. Consider myself to be part of that rainbow community, in a lot of ways, shape, or forms. And so I don't necessarily subscribe to any one political ideal, but what I am looking for right now is the truth in all of this. And so when I see somebody post that about Pierre Polyev, I know exactly where they're getting their information. They are getting it from all of the mainstream media that, is being liberal inspired right now. And they're missing what I was missing. Before you start poo-pooing a Pierre Polyev, maybe give him a follow and spend a little time actually seeing and listening to what he's posting about. And Lowell brought it to my attention yesterday that he has hired two very, very prominent members of the LGBTQ+2 community to be right there at his side, including Melissa Lantzman, who is an unbelievably brilliant, articulate, forward-thinking human and about as far out of the closet lesbian as you can be. And she's now Pierre Polyev's, right hand. So, this idea that people are like just so quick to say, I'm afraid for this, this man. Well, where are you hearing this stuff? And I'm not trying to promote Pierre Polyev. There's a lot about Pierre Polyev that I have concerns about too. Very much so, but I also think that, the road we're going down right now is a scary, scary, scary road. And I think we need to shake things up. And even if it's Pierre Polyev, just as an example, someone like him to shake things up for one term, and then we sort of reassess the situation. Maybe that's a conversation worth diving into. I don't know. But as things shift, things at the top don't seem to be shifting along with it. It's anyway. But yeah, no, the older I get, the more involved in these conversations I want to become, and the more enlightened I want to be. And I can only become that by having conversations. So yep, looking for that co-host. And here's the deal, I'll put this out in public. I've put it out on radio groups before. We've got an amazing platform called Twitch. Twitch is traditionally for gamers, but Twitch also is very busy recruiting on-air performers, people who have great content to deliver. And Twitch allows you to monetize your platform way beyond what you can do on YouTube, way beyond what you can do on Facebook. And if you want to join me as a co-host, I cannot pay you. I'm just not in a position to pay you. I'm not getting paid. But whatever we make on Twitch together, I'll split 50-50 with you. So there's that. So if you can bring something amazing to this, I mean, listen, there are some people on Twitch making 10 grand a month and more. Now, they're in bikinis, in hot tubs, in their living rooms, writing the names of, pervy guys across their bosoms. I'm not likely to do that, but all this to say, there is absolutely an opportunity to make some money on a platform like Twitch. So if you're a broadcaster and you're looking to do something different, you're willing to take a chance. Just saying.
Exactly. It's fair. It's, yeah.
All right, Julie, listen, I know you're busy.
I totally hear you.
You're busy running the government, and as always, you're very, very generous with your time. So, listen, yes. Craig's not going to wear a bikini on our Twitch channel. Oh, Craig, you will when the money starts rolling in. Huh? You will. Julie, get back to work. Thank you so much for taking time for being part of Caller 9. This is why we do this show. Thank you. I love you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Julie's always so insightful. So I'm getting some messages on Messenger. The one thing I didn't plug into today was Messenger. And thank you for your comments, by the way. Keep those rolling in. 613-604-6464. I did just post the link for you to appear by video. So there you go. It's now in our chat. So both Twitch, or not both. It's on Twitch, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. So if you want to appear via video link, you just click that and away you go. I know somebody's messaging me through Messenger. It's not coming through here. I think what's happening is that's going to my Blast the Radio. I will find you. All right, there are different audiences for Twitch, says That's Rank. The top gamers are making $200,000 and they ain't always pretty. Entertainment trumps all and connecting with an audience. Chris, that's exactly what I am saying. If we can develop a compelling show that isn't necessarily centered around the music, but centered around talking about the news of the day together, I think that would be compelling enough to get an audience in there, and we could actually make a buck or two at it. Donald says all the bullshit is coming from CTV and CBC News because they are paid to make liberal government look good. Yes and no, Donald. I think a lot of that has to do. And look, I'm very, very, very concerned when any media outlet receives any sort of compensation or bailout from the government. I think in the media game, the media is truly the official opposition. I understand that, in the current situation we're in, the Conservatives are the official opposition in the House of Commons. But really, the media's role is to keep the government to account, to keep you and I informed of what we're not seeing and hearing, to summarize, all things political for us. But media needs to do that. They have a responsibility, in my opinion, to do that in a very or in a very impartial way. And when governments are handing money to media companies to keep them afloat or for whatever reasons, I have great concern with that. And I say that as someone who owns his own media enterprise. I didn't seek any sort of bailout through COVID. I didn't go looking for any grants when I launched this. This has been 100% me, because that's just kind of how I believe it always worked. When I see some of these companies receiving major taxpayer money and then laying people off anyway, that's concerning to me. And yeah, it begs the question, and I'm not saying this happens, but it certainly begs the question, just what kind of favors are involved there? We'll renew your license, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, but you need to do this, this, and this for us? I'm not saying that's happening. It's been suggested. But you have to listen to those doubts from people because, you haven't proven otherwise. The media needs to be 100% independent, and you make it or break it on your own. That is just my opinion. So yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, and CBC. Look, my feeling on the CBC, and I've been on record with this. I think the CBC has gotten too big for what the modern day version of a broadcast outlet should and could look like. They need to really stream that down to really 2 studios, 3, perhaps 3, a French one, an English one, and perhaps one that serves our indigenous communities. And those 3 studios are your everything. They are your radio service. They are your print service. They are your video service, whether that be on your TV or whether that be streaming. They have a responsibility to tell Canadian stories from a Canadian perspective, but I don't believe a federally funded, i.e. you and me, the taxpayers, I don't believe that CBC should be weighing in with opinion when it comes to politics. Report the news. For every story regarding the Liberal Party, you have a story regarding the Conservative Party, and one regarding the NDP, and one regarding the Greens. It's equal airtime with no opinions, especially no opinions during an election. I think that is gross, to say the least, that a publicly funded broadcaster can opine and pick sides. Because we know liberals spend. Liberals hand out money. It's right there in the name, liberal. They're very liberal with their spending. And they do. They prop up and they fund places like the CBC. And this is where people get very uneasy, and the public service included, when the conservatives come in. And this is the cycle we've always gone through too, especially, in my lifetime in politics. You've got these liberal governments that, they're there for 2 or 3 terms, and they spend 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 and they spend. And then along comes a conservative government. And everybody hates on the conservative government because they cut and they cut and they cut and they cut and they cut. Nobody wants things taken away from them. And the conservatives have always had to be the bad guy or the bad person, sorry, right? And deliver that bad news. People forget that the government doesn't just pay for stuff. They tax us. They tax us. They put taxes on things. They take income away from us in order to pay for these things that we all want. And the conservatives come in and say, well, wait a minute. People are being overtaxed. We're giving them too many things. So the public service gets very afraid because they become a target for cuts. The CBC gets very afraid because they become a target for cuts. I mean, I look at how much money I spend in taxes every single year. I mean, it's more than half of my income. More than half of your income isn't coming home with you. Is that not concerning? And that's why I scratch my head and get bent out of shape, especially when you see the low numbers for voter turnout. You basically write a check for more than 50% of everything you work your ass off for. You basically hand 50% and then some over in some way, shape, or form to either your local government, your provincial government, or your federal government. And when you don't show up and vote, and you don't, it means, I'm just happy to give you my money and let you do whatever you want with it. No. If I'm going to give you any of my money, I get to be the boss of how how that's handled. Thank you very much. No different than when I go to a restaurant with whatever I have left and I order a meal, I get to pick what I want, how I want it cooked. If I'm not happy with the way it's done, I'm going to make mention of that, etc. I don't understand how we just ignore this 50% of our paycheck that just seems to just go into the great abyss. And then anyway, I'm down the little rabbit hole now. Amalgamation is a bad idea for the CBC. It's like a car-boat combo, says Woodenhead. Amphicar of the 70s. It works at doing both, just not very well. Liz says, but if you have an income because it was taken, sorry, Liz, but if have an income because it was taken away, then what? That is why people worry. I'm not following what you're saying there, Liz. Sorry. If you have no income because it was taken away, why was your income taken away? Who's taking away people's incomes? I'm missing something in your comment. I want to hear from you. I'm missing something in your comment. Susie says, media has never been impartial. You know what media outlets lean towards, right or left. It's like that all over the world. You're absolutely right. But job cuts. Okay, so job cut, says Liz. So if you have no income because of a job cut, then what? That's why people get worried. Well, and that goes back to a conversation that somebody was starting to have earlier in this. You're not entitled to a job. I'm not entitled to a job. If your job is cut, you have a responsibility to yourself and to your family, do you not, to go and get another job? And I think this is part of the problem is we have a lot of people looking at jobs that are out there right now and available, and they have the idea that, well, no, wait a minute, that's beneath me. I would be lowering myself to do that job. And I get it, and I understand that, especially if you have been in another line of work and you've seen success. But would you rather not work at something than to do nothing and have that worry and just sit around? And I see it all the time in the radio business. People refusing to, and for a lot of reasons. It's a catch-22. The radio business is no different than any other business. It just happens to be the business that I'm in. It's the business that I know. The old catch-22. Well, radio station A only has X number of dollars available to pay somebody to do the morning show, for example. Okay, well, somebody comes along and wants to do that morning show, but the salary being offered is not enough to sustain them. So, we end up in the situation where we can't hire good people, and the good people who want to be hired, well, we can't pay them. So where does the dust all settle in all of this? And I see person after person after person, contrarily, just sitting around. I don't want to move. I shouldn't have to move. Listen, we live in the largest geographical country on the planet, or second largest. And we have this population that just wants to stay where they are and not move. And I always give the example of, okay, well, if you have an opportunity to go play in the NHL, you're from Ottawa, and you have an opportunity to go play in the NHL. Are you going to say no to the opportunity because the team that drafted you is in Winnipeg? Or the team that drafted you is in Carolina? Of course not. So you look at the success that these players have. They go to where the job is, and you can always come back. But we're not willing, by and large, we're not willing to move to where the jobs are. That's part of our problem, I think. So yeah, Liz, no, look, listen, I was laid off. I was in a job for 23 years, and I was blindsided one day, and my job was terminated. 9 days earlier, my wife lost her job. So it was a real double whammy. And my solution was to start my own business, do it on my terms. And that's how this little thing was born that I'm doing. That was my choice. But I was not going to sit around and just go, well, there goes my job. I guess I'm going to do nothing now. I just, maybe just the way I'm wired, Liz, I don't know, but I got to do something. I got to try and better my situation. All right, some of the comments coming in. Thank you. Elias says, with respect to mayoral candidate McKinney, promised to get rid of homelessness in Ottawa. Yes. There are many mentally ill homeless wandering downtown Ottawa. They defecate, urinate, go through garbage, and make a mess of our streets. They sleep out in the open streets. Tell us your plan for them, please. Or is she just concerned about families? Okay, first off, we need to stop calling Catherine McKinney she. I know it's a difficult learning curve, and I struggle with it too, and I drop the ball on that sometimes, but I would be remiss if I did not say Catherine McKinney prefers to be they. Okay. I've got your back, Councillor McKinney. We disagree on a lot of things, but on that, I will, at every opportunity, try and do my best to address you as you wish to be addressed. I don't know what Catherine McKinney's intent is. I haven't read through their entire plan for that, but we do have a major problem with homelessness. And yep, some of that is mental illness. I think a lot of it too, though, is if I'm homeless and I don't have a place to go and sleep and eat and pee and defecate and shower, what are my other options? I can't even wander into a restaurant, and use their washroom because, the whole customers only thing, and past experiences that a lot of these restaurants, look, the McDonald's on Rideau Street is notorious for being a problem area. You got a lot of homeless people who wander into that McDonald's on Rideau Street. All they want to do is use the water for a sponge bath, but they're kicked out. We don't want you here. You're going to create a problem. You're going to make a mess of things. You're going to stink up the place. This is the thing. So where are they left to turn to? Where are they left to go? And by the way, the homeless problem in the city is a huge one. And I mean, for all the years I worked in the Byward Market, I would see it everywhere. It's very pronounced in the Byward Market. But here in the Bank and Hunt Club area, I'm seeing a huge shift. There's a little plaza with a Shoppers Drug Mart and a Metro in it. Every single time I pull in there now, there are people fast asleep on the sidewalk in front of some of the retail outlets that are there. There are people begging for change out in front of that Shoppers Drug Mart. I mean, this has become so big. It's beyond the Byward Market. It's beyond Vanier. It is into the suburbs now. And if you're not seeing it in your neighborhood, you will be. Just look at the number of people standing on, like willing to walk through traffic, holding out a dilapidated, Tim Hortons cup. Look, some of them, I think, a small percentage of them, I think, are pulling a fast one on you. But by and large, I don't think anybody stands out there in the summer heat, in the rain, just to pull a fast one on you. We do. We have a major problem. And look, I've not read Catherine McKinney's plan. I'm excited to find out that somebody somewhere has a plan. Plans are great, but we need to put things into action. And my thinking, can we not set aside some parcel of land somewhere? And can we not use, I see so many amazing things being done with old shipping containers. Like the rail containers. People convert these into homes. I've got a friend of mine who's actually a designer in town who has not one, but several clients who have taken these shipping containers and turned them into fantasy dungeons, sex rooms. If we can take these containers and turn them into, a dungeon, a little sex playroom, surely we could figure out a way to add a little insulation to them, an inexpensive washroom, and provide some sort of shelter. And we got ice, we got huts that we put on our Rideau Canal. They are used for nothing other than putting your skates on and taking your skates off. We found $750,000 to buy one of those skate huts. Oh, wait, except for the fact we bought 11 of them. Think of that. What is that? That's almost $11 million we put into skate huts that get used for maybe, 3 months of the year if we're lucky? What could we do if we took $11 million and put that into shipping containers and a parcel of land that we service with some hydro and some plumbing? If I'm living on the streets, I'm not asking for much. Can you keep the wind off me? Can you keep the rain off me? Can you give me a place to poop? I don't know. So in fairness, I've not read Catherine McKinney's plan. But I know, listen, anybody running for office is going to put something out there, some sort of idea to solve the homeless crisis. And Slacker Dan said, the Salvation Army Men's Shelter on downtown George Street is always quite the sight. Yes, it is. And the other thing we're up against is, we need to do something. We need to do something. They want to move that Salvation Army to Vanier. Well, now, of course, the people who live in Vanier get all up in arms. We don't want it here. That's going to bring all kinds of problems our way. So where do you move these things? Where do you do these things? Nobody wants it in their backyard. It's the old NIMBY thing, right? Not in my backyard. We've got to get back to loving each other and understanding that there are people out there who they need us. And yes, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems. Liz says it would be great if one politician says and acts, not just all talk and false hope to get votes. Yeah, you're right, Liz. And I like to believe that there are a lot of very well-intentioned politicians, but don't forget, politicians cannot unilaterally, single-handedly make something happen. It has to be done by, thank you very much for calling. It has to be done, by consensus of votes. So the majority rules. So you could have the most well-intentioned mayor or well-intentioned councillor who's pushing for this and pushing for that, and you don't have to look far to find them, or an MP or an MPP, and they're handcuffed. They can't they can't move their plan into action because, well, the rest of them are just not into it. They're just not seeing it. So I think those politicians are out there. And look, we've got an election coming up in October. I don't know how much attention you're paying to it, but I'm doing a deep dive, not just in my own writing, but I'm doing a deep dive on who is out there and has put their name on the ballot beyond the mayor for councilor as well. We have a real opportunity to really change this city if we each just take some time and really look and watch at what some of these people are saying. Go to their websites, go to their YouTube pages, see where they stand on things, see what their ideas are, see if they align with other people. We're far too flippant with this. And like I said, the voter turnout, I'm afraid with all the mess that the LRT has been in this city, with the opportunity to move, and look, it's an opportunity, but it also creates a problem, to move the hockey arena to downtown, the Breton Flats. That's coming. Our next council is going to have to make that kind of decision. And that's easy speak. But what's not being discussed is, okay, we have an existing arena in Canada, and we have all kinds of infrastructure, and we have all kinds of businesses that exist in Canada to serve that arena being there. What's going to happen to those businesses? What's the plan for them when that arena is no longer there? What becomes of that building? Joseph Ben-Ami is running in Knoxdale Ward. He provided me with an email the other day talking about the crumbling gas line underneath Saint Laurent Boulevard. This is a major, major gas line that actually provides heat to not just a number of residences in the city, but also to a good number of our buildings downtown, including Parliament Hill. But nobody wants to act to fix this thing. Nobody wants to be seen as spending that money. We're in a situation, this thing is so old and so corroded, if it starts to spring leaks, we're not going to be able to heat Parliament Hill. So, some of these people are seeing and are aware of things you and I never even imagined and have no knowledge of, but need to be addressed. So I guess that's the long and short of, my little rant here is let's just, all do ourselves a favor and become a little more engaged than we are. And look, I know politics is not everybody's thing. It hasn't been my thing for a long, long time either. But I think we're, for the amount of money we're spending on government, we owe it to ourselves to make sure that we put the best people and well-intentioned people in there, people who really represent our ideals. But don't base it on what you're reading elsewhere. Do your own research. It's so easy to do. Renee says government, all levels, need to swallow their egos and work together and talk to the people in their ridings. Easier said than done, though, Renee. Really easier said than done. All right, we got some messages coming in. That has nothing at all to do with what we're talking about here. That's a private message to me. I won't read that on the air. So there we go. So those are some of the things I wanted to get. Politics certainly gets people talking, says James. Does it though, James? Or does it get people yelling and screaming at each other? Because what I'm afraid of is the more I'm excited by these talk segments, as I mentioned earlier, but I also, I become very, very concerned because I've taken on the Lowell Green show. Am I being pigeonholed? Milky and Lowell, they think the same. No, I think for myself, thank you very much. There's a lot of what Lowell says that I think makes some great sense. But no, I don't necessarily align myself. And look, what I want my radio station to be, and let me put this out there again. Yeah, I happen to have some conservative talk shows on this radio station, and it's very, very easy for people to say, oh, so that's the team you're on. Except you forget that I've also got some very, very liberal shows on this radio station. Have you heard your afternoon queer tea with Andre? Have you listened to his Thursday and Friday shows? LGBTQ plus 2 friendly, that's pretty liberal minded. Look, I am open on this radio station, and what I want and what I feel is the right thing to do. I want a balance of voices. I want everyone to have a voice here. That's why I'm doing this segment. That's why I put it out to you and encourage you to call and share your ideas. I don't want it to be a one-sided thing. That's the last thing I want, and I will never allow that to happen. But I know the perception is there. If you've got an idea for a talk show that speaks from the other side to the other side, I want it. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. I want us to get back to having conversations instead of having to rely on a friend told a friend who told a friend who told another friend, and then I read a thing, and this is what I believe now. That puts us in the worst possible situation. So I want to be part of a better solution. And that's, really what I see BTR's function as being. I can facilitate a better place, like people have already said. They find that their radio and TV stations are very one-sided. It's wrong. It's wrong. I want to hear all sides. Somewhere in the middle of all of this is where it all needs to land. We're never going to all agree on things. Absolutely not. What I'm searching for in my life, I want to find that middle ground. Remember when we used to be able to find that middle ground? Even if you're in like the backseat of your car fighting with one of your siblings. Wasn't that what mom and dad were trying to do? Just find that peaceful place where you can coexist. Woodenhead says, sir, you are one of the least biased persons on the airwaves these days. I love that you're giving folks an open forum to express themselves. Thank you for saying that. I see what people say, Woodenhead, and I certainly see what comes into my inbox. And a lot of people really sort of believe that we've done a deep dive onto the conservative side of things. And I understand where that comes from. If all you see is Lowell and if all you see is the Nick and Joe show, it's easy to sort of say, yep, that's what Milky's all about. Well, it's not what I'm all about. I really don't think you can define me politically. I can't define me politically. I have voted NDP. I have voted Liberal. I have voted Conservative. I don't believe I've ever voted Green. And I voted Independent on a number of occasions. I look at every single opportunity, whether it's local or provincial or federal. I look first at the individual who's running in my riding. Who is this person? What do they stand for? What do they believe in? And then I look at the party and do I subscribe to what the overall message is from that party? Does it speak to my values? And I try and make the best decision. When I go to that ballot box, I try and make the best decision for what I believe is the best path forward. And that really doesn't necessarily mean that it always has to be the same party for me. It certainly doesn't. What I am aware of right now is the battle the Conservative Party has against them, and it's it's an uphill battle, and it's the cards or the deck is really stacked against them, with all of the liberal media that is out there, and it scares me. It scares me. And look, I have raised on this radio station, I have raised openly concerns about where do the conservatives stand when it comes to the LGBTQ plus 2S community. And my apologies if I'm missing some of the initials. I'm always trying to do my best. And by asking that question, I'm getting some of the answers. Like I said earlier, Pierre Poilievre is now surrounding himself and his government, and rightfully so, with a couple of very, very, very loud and proud rainbow community members. Good. Now, what I challenge Pierre Poilievre and the other conservatives to do is to bust down some of those barriers, get out to the pride events, wear the rainbow. If you truly, truly believe in equality and acceptance, show me. Let me see it. Don't let me read these rumors and the gossip coming from third parties. Tell me. Show me. I'm a sponge for this. Lowell Green for Prime Minister 2023 write-in campaign now. Yeah, I don't see that ever happening. Slacker Dan. He ran once upon a time. It was not the best experience. And listen, in this municipal election, I gave it serious consideration. I gave it serious consideration. And I've said this before too. I admire people who put their name on the ballot. Craig is in our chat room right now. Craig's put his name on the ballot. He's running for council in Calabogie. Joseph Ben-Ami, who's part of the Nick and Joe show. His name's on the ballot in Knoxdale ward. Chris Fraser was co-hosting last night. He's on the ballot in Orleans Innes ward. I admire, Catherine McKinney. Mark Sutcliffe happens to be someone that I've worked with and supported, in business ventures. But he's up against Catherine McKinney. I'm looking at everyone and reading and hearing what they're saying, and I'm trying to make the best decision for me. That's all we can do. And that's all we're being asked to do. Liz says, I work every level of the elections when there is one, and it's very scary at the turnouts. It is. It's very, very depressing. Renee says, I think as a society, we lost the ability to debate serious issues without yelling, screaming, and just saying, you're wrong and I'm right. Yes, Renee. Yes. That has been the problem for too long. And that's exactly why when I thought about putting my name on a ballot, I have no appetite for that right now. Now is not the time for someone like me and just the way I'm wired and the way I feel things and digest things and process things in my own mind. The yelling and the screaming, I have no patience for that. And yet I know that if I were to be successful and win a seat, no matter how passionate and committed I am to that job, would face every single day a barrage of emails and phone calls and face-to-face encounters with people who just want to do nothing other than yell and scream. This right here. This is the opportunity that I see to help with that, to get us back to having a conversation. I don't want you to be more right than me, and I don't want you to be more wrong than me. What I want is for you to be heard. What I want is for you to hear me. And we do. Renee, you're exactly right. We need to bring the temperature down. And as bad as it is here, we see it becoming infinitely more of a problem stateside. How do we rein that in? I don't know. But contributing to the yelling and the screaming is certainly not the solution. So when I look at my platform, I go, okay, I can proactively turn the temperature down. I can have conversations. Look, Terry DeMonte is a great broadcaster. I don't know if you know Terry at all. Did mornings on Shom in Montreal for years and years and years. Proud Montreal-born guy, an absolute legend in the industry. And by the way, a very good friend to Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. I beg your pardon, to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This is very confusing, isn't it? With a Pierre Poilievre and a Justin Trudeau. I'm not the only one doing that, right? Anyway, he's good friends with Justin Trudeau. And Terry has been through, a lot of, the Quebec referendums, etc. He's an English-speaking Montrealer who has gone above and beyond to immerse himself in the community. He can't walk down a street in Montreal without people. Terry, come on in. Let me buy you lunch. Let me have a drink. He is, for all intents and purposes, he's the mayor of Montreal without being the mayor of Montreal. He's beloved, and rightfully so. He's fantastic. He's done everything that a radio or broadcaster should be doing to immerse themselves, in becoming part of a community. And it just finally got to a point where, he was let go. Again, another cost-cutting thing. And he took a real long, hard look at the situation he was in as an Anglo in Quebec. And he said, and it helps that he's also, newly married. And she, there's other things that his wife wants to do. So he's more open to the adventure. And I never imagined, and I followed this man's career, for a lot of years, never imagined he would ever leave Montreal. Well, he's out in BC now. And he's really enjoying all these new things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he's maintained a podcast. And something very impactful that he said on his podcast recently. Some of his best memories of working and living in Montreal, which, by the way, he goes back like every few months. But his fondest memories are of going to dinners surrounded by people who are at the table who are Parti Québécois or of other political affiliations, but they're separatists. He's an Anglo in Quebec, born and raised in Montreal, loves his city, sits down and has dinner with staunch separatists. And he tells this on his podcast, and it's a beautiful thing to listen to, how much he enjoys those conversations and how, the dinners inevitably end up with everybody hugging and shaking hands and saying, we got to do this again. What a great night. We talked about some great stuff. Yes. Absolutely, yes. If an Anglo-Quebecois can sit down in a room full of separatists, break bread, share a meal, have some laughs, and have conversations, then why can't we? It's a choice we're making. We're choosing to get into these yelling and screaming wars on social media that serve absolutely no purpose. They get us nowhere. And yet, there we are, making the choice to dive into those conversations every day. We gotta make choices to do something better, something other than that. And this is my choice, to have nice, calm, cool, collected conversations with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds on a variety of topics. And as I evolve this thing and grow this thing and sort of figure out where I'm going with it, that ultimately is the place that I want it to be. I want it to be the right balance on here of, me telling you some poo-poo and fart jokes and talking about sex, etc., as we used to do, and celebrating all of that side of ourselves, but at the same time, informing, educating. There you go. Case in point, I have great conversations every single, not every single day, but 3 days a week with Susie, the diva of love, founded in dating coaching, but has seen and heard so many things through the conversations she's had in that realm that she's recognized that the problems or the stumbling blocks that people have in their love life are very similar to the stumbling blocks and the things that get in our way in a lot of aspects of our life. And so she has made it her mission to offer up some coaching advice and some tips every single day, and create a website and an environment where if you read a thing or hear a thing here and there, hopefully it gets you one step closer to being the rock star that we know you are. So here's my conversation from earlier this week, one of 3, with our diva of love, Susie, on BTR. You need to have that person in your life who's watching out for you, but they have an impartial approach to you and aren't afraid to call you on your bullshit sometimes. Some call it therapy, some call it coaching. I like the term coaching, and we've got a great coach with us every single day, here to remind you of some of the simple things you may not be seeing as you try and achieve big goals, little goals, whether they're in your love life, personal life, business life. Welcome back, the diva of love. Hey, Susie.
Hey, John.
I loved our conversation yesterday about why are you not achieving your goals? And like I said, those were great little reminders you gave us yesterday. And so today, in a roundabout kind of way, we're kind of addressing that again, but going a little bit deeper too. This is living your past on repeat.
Yes, kind of like that song that you play over and over and over.
I don't do that. I leave that to FM radio stations to play the song over and over. All right.
Like when you're sad and that song really hits you, right? Or you're really happy and a song really motivates you.
Absolutely.
Just keep playing it over and over again, But in the same way, when traumatic events happen, we often relive those moments over and over and over and over again in our mind. it often really consumes us, and we get into a hole that we can't climb out of. Hate, shame, fear, or any other emotion you're feeling takes over your power and control.
Right.
And letting go of those negative experiences is severing the attachment that other people, places, or things have on you. Taking that major step forward without looking back. So moving forward, not back.
Come to realize, of course, that I'm re-airing yesterday's segment. Let's try this.
Over and over and over.
Ah, Susie, I'm a mess. I'm an absolute mess. Susie will get you. We'll get you figured out. It was that good, she says. Yes, it was. You know what? This goes back to what I'm saying. I am doing so many things. I'm spinning my own wheels and getting nowhere here. I need like a video editor and a co-host in a big bad way. Susie, I'm going to try and find the right segment and get that on. So let's go to Chris Father Gilbrown in the meantime. This may be yesterday's as well. Let's see.
Away. And on Monday of this week, Buckingham Palace shared a message with the public. Stop leaving marmalade sandwiches out as tribute.
FML, I believe is the expression. Listen, here's the deal. I will find the correct segments. Chris will have that posted on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/that'srank. Susie will have the correct video posted on her YouTube channel as well, and I will have both posted on our YouTube channel. I need a little help around here, guys. I am tired. I'm feeling it. It's affecting my mental health. It's affecting how I behave and how I react and how I overthink things. And I don't want that anymore for this place. I want to do better. I want to be better. I want to do great things together here on BTR. And thank you for your input on this today. I will figure that stuff out. So youtube.com/blasttheradio, I will have the correct segments. My apologies to Susie. My apologies to Chris as well. And my apologies for not being able to say the word apologies. Lowell Green comes your way at 2 o'clock. Looking forward to that. And thank you for your calls, your comments, your input to the person who's been messaging me through the Blast the Radio page. Facebook has made that damn near impossible now for me to get to. Actually, hang on. So I haven't been able to read your messages until now. It's not just me, right? Like getting to messages on Facebook now, other than your own timeline, it's jumping through hoops. Now I got to open up the Meta Business Suite and wait for the spinning wheel and okay. This is someone who's actually spent some serious time here contributing and sending me some thoughts. So I would be remiss if I signed off before reading it. Lisa, thank you very much for chiming in. My 2 cents. You need to get the station out there more. I don't know anyone who's ever heard of Blast the Radio. She calls it Blaster Radio. I've been introducing people to the station and they tell me, oh, wow, this is great. What's it called? I need to add it. Do you need a stronger publicity campaign? I'm literally just sharing a word of mouth and on social media. See, Lisa, thank you. Yes, we need more of that. This is the challenge, Lisa. I cannot, even if I could afford to buy a TV campaign, Bell Media and Rogers and Chorus, who own radio stations locally, are not going to let me buy advertising time on their TV stations. I can't afford bus boards. I can't afford billboards. It is 100% word of mouth. This is why when we do events like comedy nights at No Forks Given every single Tuesday, it is so vitally important that people come out. If they love what we do on BTR, it is vitally important that they come out and they participate and they share what we're doing. Jules says magnets. Yes, we've done magnets. We've done bumper stickers. And look, initially when I launched this thing, I was getting coverage in the newspapers, etc. I'm 6 years in. The novelty's kind of worn off. And don't think for a second that I'm not sitting here constantly trying to rack my brain. I recognize I need to be top of mind all the time. This is why we ask you when we put content out, share it. Tell people what you love about BTR. Wear the t-shirts. Wear the hats. We've got an entire BTR swag store of merchandise you can buy and acquire. Play it on your smart speakers. Put it on your dashboard. Get the app. Share it with your friends. Please, 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 please. I hear everything you're saying. And, my current wish is I've been given a huge opportunity to acquire an RV. There is no bigger and cooler promotional vehicle out there than an RV as far as I'm concerned. And my plan is I want to logo the crap out of this RV. I want it to be a mobile studio. I can show up and I can do live on location charity events. I can be live on location outside a restaurant with this thing, lights flashing, BTR's name all over it, speakers on the roof playing and showing people what we do. My ask, I need to raise $3,000. That's it. $3,000 and I can have this. But the bigger reason for it is I want everything that we do as it pertains to that RV, every live on location, to be a mental health awareness campaign. I want to drive that thing across the country. I want to drive it into the States. And I've already got invitations from over 20 radio stations to come and visit and talk to their personalities about their journeys with mental health. I believe that would be something that would absolutely put us on the map. The other challenge, and I keep bringing this up, you try and explain to people that, well, we're a radio station, but we don't have a transmitter. We're not on your radio. And you get this blank look in their face. They don't understand it. They understand Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus or Crave, etc. These are TV stations that aren't on TV, not in the traditional sense anyway. They're apps. They're streaming services. Well, we are just that. We are a streaming service without, by and large, without the pictures. Yeah. And I've had people step up and say, I want to be your marketing person. Never hear from them again. I want to put you on every single media list. Never hear from them again. It just, again, that stuff happens. And it just, my brain instantly is, it's me, isn't it? It's me. I know. And it's not. It's just the world is just shifting and moving and whatever else. And yeah, listen, somebody's hearing us, Lisa. Right behind me, I got awards and more coming. Radio Station of the Year, Faces Magazine, Community Votes, Ottawa Life Magazine, People's Choice Awards. We have been winning awards for 6 years, beating out conventional radio stations. Someone somewhere knows of us and is hearing of us. Anything you can do to get the word out, Lisa, is amazing. Now, step one, it's not called Blaster Radio. It's BTR, Blast the Radio.com. But I've heard all kinds. So there you go. She says, I like a mix of talk and your music's great and great balance is key. I'd be a great co-host for talk shows because I know a little bit about everything and I could write a book on dating. Ha ha ha. Good luck. Focus on getting it promoted more. Lisa, listen, here's an open invitation. This show right here is a great place for you to start. If you and I connect on this show and there's chemistry, you better believe I'm going to be chasing you down saying, let's do more of that. She says, whether you loved or hated Lowell, you listened and his ratings were high. And she says, exactly. I think I'm a little bit of all parties as well. I have voted for all parties through my lifetime, but now I see Pierre as being the most in touch person with what the problems in our country are right now. See, and I appreciate that. And I applaud that. Someone who's looking, into matters for themselves. Lisa, you sound like my kind of person, and I'm glad that you have latched on to blasttheradio.com. Wendy says, John, I can do your graphics, help with ads. Wendy, I appreciate that. What's wrong with my graphics, though? I know you do great graphics, but what's wrong with the graphics I'm doing? I want to help spread the word and need to help raise awareness for mental health. Absolutely. We need to find a way to align, Wendy, all joking aside. Talented people need to come to. If you believe in what we do and you want to align yourself with us, this is my call to action. And yes, look, we need to get back. And the pandemic absolutely got in the way of a lot of the cool stuff that we were doing, a lot of the momentum and the things that we were known for, not the least of which are Hugs at Hogsback. I wanted to do that so badly in the spring, which is traditionally when we do it. We go to Hogsback Falls and we do what I hope becomes the biggest group hug in the history of the world. And it's just a show of support for everyone dealing with mental health issues. Pandemic. We still weren't quite in a comfort zone in the spring. I just didn't think that we would be able to really do that justice. My hope is that we can get back to doing that. Maybe in the fall, maybe before the snow flies. Maybe. COVID got in the way of a great campaign that I had going on that raised a lot of awareness for us. And that is installing Christmas lights in exchange for a donation to the Distress Center of Ottawa and Region. We've raised probably close to $10,000 doing that campaign every single year. The last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that. It hasn't been safe. And the optics of getting together at someone's house with them breathing on you and you breathing on them and, me up a ladder, my buddy up a ladder and side by each, just wasn't good. So unfortunately, I've had to put that on the back burner for now. And the other thing that goes along with that is our annual invitation to be on Taffy Lane and collect donations for the Distress Center. I've got a lovely friend who lives on Taffy Lane, and she has invited us to her house year after year after year to do this. And of course, even previous to COVID, inevitably, that one person on Taffy Lane who doesn't want to identify themselves, of course, sends you an anonymous email through a Hotmail account. Get off my street. You're commercializing this. It's nothing more than you showcasing your radio station, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants you here. I speak for all residents. Well, okay, that's all well and good for you to feel that way. And you feel that way and you're entitled to that. Except, should your concern not be addressed to your neighbor, the person who's actually inviting me over to her home? I wouldn't be on Taffy Lane if I didn't have an invitation. Go talk to your neighbor. And when I suggested they do that, they suggested I go pound sand. Lovely. Oh, yeah, they were lovely. Also, by the way, when I'm on Taffy Lane, the vehicle does not have the logo on it. My old vehicle did. The new vehicle, I back it into the driveway on purpose. If you see the logo, it's by chance. I'm not there to hammer home the radio. We don't even play the radio station when we're on Taffy Lane. I fire up a Spotify Christmas playlist. That's what I do. And we collect money for the Distress Center. Oh, well, people, you've turned this into a commercial event and people now feel that they have to contribute. No, absolutely not. I disagree. And by the way, before we got to Taffy Lane, several of your neighbors, I'm talking to someone who's probably not even listening, but several people on Taffy Lane had their own fundraisers. Food Bank is one of them, which I've contributed to happily. If everybody on Taffy Lane had their own cause, or if every couple of houses had their own cause, imagine the changes we could make. But this is what we encountered with this. Anyway, but word would get around that Blast the Radio is behind this initiative. And I hope we can get back to doing things like that. I really do. Satan's Playmate, by the way, is a friend of mine because she found out about our Christmas light installation campaign and had us over to install her Christmas lights one year. And by the way, also goes batshit crazy and over the top. You want to talk about Griswold for Christmas? Yeah, her house is fantastic out there in Barrhaven, and we were thrilled to be part of that. So it's little things like that. We did have great momentum, and yes, the pandemic has certainly changed things. I'm open to ideas. I am absolutely open to ideas. My hope is by doing, and again, a big reason for me doing this talk segment. Okay, I have this huge social media following, but if I sit here and play music all day, I can't stream that to Facebook. Copyright violations. I can't stream that to YouTube. Copyright violations. Twitch allows me because I've got a special license agreement with them. Although that seems to be in question now. Things are changing and evolving in their world. So my only real opportunity to get myself in front of my social media audience and show them and give them a taste of what I do is to do this. So, yeah, that's the catch-22. Anyway, listen, I'm open to your ideas. I'm open to your suggestions. And I am always unbelievably grateful for your support. We do amazing things here on BTR. We have always done amazing things here on BTR. I will continue to do things on BTR. I'm proud of the campaigns. One of the very first things we ever did, by the way, we did a breakfast with BTR. There was a restaurant, the old White Horse restaurant, as they were building the LRT, was pretty much fenced off from the rest of the world. People could not get near the restaurant. It was still technically open, but this lovely man and his wife who, moved to this country, started this business, didn't ask for a lot. They already had a group of public servants in a building next to them who were moved to a different building. So they lost a lot of built-in customers there. Then they were put behind these fences as they dug up the road and put the LRT and whatever else. And somebody just posted very simply, is there anything you can do? And I said, yeah, let's do a breakfast at BTR. We turned over the tables 3 times. That's 3 breakfasts, significantly more business than the White Horse had. We brought in live music. We did the whole live broadcast, gave away bumper stickers. That got us a lot of attention. Community newspapers, etc. That is what we do. That is what I believe I have a responsibility to do in the community. How do you do that in the middle of a pandemic? And by the way, White Horse did very, very well beyond that. And unfortunately, the landlord, the last little while, I guess a year or so ago, decided wanted to sell the land, wanted to sell the building. And the last I heard, the gang at the White Horse, who were not quite ready to walk away from it, have been looking for another location. I've not heard anything about them opening up anywhere else, which is too bad because Mike and his lovely wife are just great, great, great folks. And it's stuff like that I look back on, and I've got countless examples of great things that we've done at the invitation of you, the community of Ottawa. Can we be part of it? I mean, most recently, we were part of Dragon Balls. It was a fundraiser for Bruce House. Happened to be, the same weekend as Pride. Wasn't a Pride sanctioned event, but yeah, we showed up and we provided a few $1,000s worth of DJ service. I donated my time. Happy to have done it. And it gets the word out about Blast the Radio a little bit here and there. So I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate your enthusiasm for it. And yep, it'll all come together in the next little while, and we will be right back in people's faces, and it will be undeniable. You will no longer make the mistake of calling us Blaster Radio. Believe me. Yeah. All right. I have taken way too much of your time. I want to get you back to the music. I want to go, and my niece is home right now, and she's cooking something. I don't even know what it is, but it smells delicious. I haven't had my breakfast yet, and now I'm getting hangry. Got to go eat something. Back at 2 with the always cranky, and I love him for it, Lowell Green. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your calls. Thank you for your comments. And thank you for telling your friends about blasttheradio.com. Move for now.